Emma had been feeling burnt out after months of sleepless nights at her new job. When her friend Claire suggested a weekend retreat to her uncle's cabin nestled deep in Willowridge Forest, Emma hesitated but eventually agreed. It seemed like the perfect escape. No cell service, no emails, just the serenity of nature. The drive to the cabin took hours. As the car wound through increasingly narrow forest roads, the trees appeared taller and more imposing. Claire mentioned the local lore about the forest. People say the trees whisper at night. Some believe they're trying to tell us something, she said with a sly smile. Emma laughed nervously, brushing it off as Claire's attempt to spook her. The cabin was picturesque but isolated. It stood in a clearing surrounded by dense trees that loomed like silent sentinels. The interior was rustic but cozy, with an old stone fireplace and a bookshelf filled with dusty novels. As the sun set, the forest darkened quickly, and an eerie stillness settled over the cabin. That night, Emma woke suddenly. The air felt cold, and she swore she heard faint whispers coming from the woods. She strained to listen, but the murmurs faded. Writing it off as her imagination, she tried to sleep, but unease lingered. The next morning, while rummaging through the bookshelf, Emma found a folded piece of paper tucked inside an old novel. It was a handwritten note. The whispers come when the moon is high. Stay indoors, don't answer. Emma showed it to Claire, who dismissed it as a prank from her uncle's past guests, but Emma couldn't shake the feeling of foreboding. That evening they sat by the fire, chatting to ward off the unsettling vibe. As night fell, the atmosphere grew heavy. Claire stepped outside to grab more firewood, and Emma caught a glimpse of movement among the trees. She called out, but Claire assured her it was nothing. However, Emma remained unconvinced. Later that night, Emma woke again. This time the whispers were louder, mingled with distant, guttural screams. She ran to check on Claire, who was fast asleep. Peering out the window, she saw fleeting shadows darting between the trees. A loud knock echoed through the cabin, startling Emma. She woke Claire, and they both stared at the door. Claire suggested it was a hiker, but Emma whispered about the note's warning. The knocking grew insistent. Summoning courage, Claire opened the door. No one was there. The tension mounted as the whispers grew into an unintelligible chorus outside. Claire's curiosity got the better of her, and despite Emma's protests, she stepped outside to investigate. Moments later, Emma heard a sharp, chilling scream. She rushed out, but Claire was gone. The forest felt alive as Emma wandered, searching for Claire. The trees seemed closer, the darkness thicker. The whispers surrounded her, whispering her name. Suddenly, she felt a cold hand brush against her arm. Spinning around, she found nothing but the oppressive silence. Panicked, Emma ran back to the cabin. Desperate, she searched for any clues. In the corner, she noticed a trap door she hadn't seen before. Gathering her courage, she descended into the basement. It was damp and smelled of earth. In the center of the room, there was a crude circle drawn on the ground, surrounded by candles and strange symbols on the walls. Emma's heart sank when she heard Claire's voice behind her, calling for help. She turned, but Claire wasn't there. The voice came again, this time distorted and echoing. Something was imitating her friend. Emma's blood ran cold as she realized she wasn't alone. A shadowy figure emerged from the darkness, its face featureless, yet horrifyingly human-like. The whispers turned into a deafening cacophony. Emma backed away, clutching a broken piece of wood for defense. The figure seemed to dissolve into the darkness, only to reappear closer. Realizing the cabin was no longer safe, Emma bolted into the forest. The whispers followed her, guiding her deeper into the woods. She stumbled upon an old overgrown trail that seemed to lead back to the road. The shadows seemed to reach for her, but she pressed on, adrenaline overpowering her fear. Emma eventually found a ranger's cabin near the edge of the forest. Exhausted, she recounted her ordeal, but the ranger seemed skeptical. When they returned to the cabin, Claire was still missing. The only evidence was the circle in the basement and the symbols, which no one could explain. Weeks later, back home, Emma continued to hear faint whispers at night. She started noticing shadows where there shouldn't have been any. On her bedroom window, written in condensation one morning, were the words,